Years ago, all of trucking was highly regulated. You had routes that the trucks would go on, the routes and rates and all that kind of stuff. It was all regulated by the federal government and by the states. And then in the 80s, they had the what they call the Airport Act, which deregulated trucking and deregulated tow companies. And we used to have to. We had a tariff association that would file a tariff for us with the state. We had to keep that tariff. And we were extremely regulated. Then when they did this deregulation, we never changed our prices. We just kind of kept working, and it was under the Public Service Commission. We were under their auspices, and they would send out people if they thought we did something wrong, and give cite us and things, and they were the same ones that regulate the electricity and the gas company and that kind of stuff. So for a year or two, there was no regulation of tow companies in the state of Nevada, and some of the tougher fly-by-night companies raised their prices and were taking advantage of people. I guess that happened nationwide because then they partially regulated the towing companies and gave permission for the states. The deregulation said the states could not regulate in any way, shape, or form. Then when they partially regulated, they let the states regulate them as far as safety and non-consent tows. If the police impound your car, you don't get to choose who tows it. The police has a rotation. They pick the tow company. If you park in the wrong place and the property owner has the car removed, you don't get to call the tow company. They call the tow company. And so if you're going to pick up your car, you got to pay whatever the tow company charges. And so some tow companies were charging horrible amounts. And so when they re-regulated, it was one of the first times that I went to the legislature because they were re-regulating. Had the PSC, they had a board that had 3 commissioners, and those commissioners had a couple of attorneys working for them, and one of them was an assistant attorney general for the state of Nevada. This was a fellow from Idaho, and I knew who he was. We'd been cited on some things, and I'd worked with him. He seemed like an okay guy. The legislature was held in Carson City, and the tow company was in Las Vegas, so it's about 400 miles away. And so we'd have to look on the schedule of the legislature and find out when they were talking about this new law. They were going to re-regulate the tow companies. And the regulations that the assistant attorney general was proposing were not in compliance with the federal regulations. They were regulating kind of like before, and they gave a little bit, but they were just like taking over, not regulating more than safety, more than the prices of non-consent tows. They just tried to put all those old laws back in. The session was winding down, and when it starts winding down, they suspend the rules, and instead of having the committee meetings and workshops at 10:30 in the morning and 2:30 in the afternoon, they have them at 8 o'clock at night and get over at 9:30 and that kind of stuff, and I would try to see the chairman of the transportation committee, go and talk to him, and his secretary would just, no, he has no appointments available, he's busy, and so anyway, he told me he's walking in the hallway, and he said, "How's it going, Clark? Is that law they're passing to re-regulate the tow companies? Have you had a chance to look at that? Is that what it should be?" And I said, "No, I've looked at it, and I think they're overstepping their bounds." He says, "Oh, really?" And then the fellow's name was Randy Jackson, who was the assistant attorney general. And he said, "Randy, I think Clark's in the tow business, and he knows a lot about the laws. I think you need to work with him and work this out so that when it comes before the committee, we can pass it through. So work with him, would you?" And he says, "Oh, okay." So he didn't work with me. He had his assistant clerk work with me, and we went over some things. And then I redlined their things. Take out these because this is not safety. This is not safety. This is not non-consent tow fees and that kind of stuff. And none of these complied with the federal law, the new federal law. I said, "Here's the new federal. Don't you have a copy of it?" Yeah. So anyway, then they came to me with a proposal that was a little bit different, but it wasn't that much different. It was still way out of line. And the senator was walking by, and he says, "Clark, are you happy with what you're doing yet?" And I said, "Well, they did a revision, but it's not close to what it should be." And he turned to him and said, "Mr. Jackson, if Clark's not happy, I'm not happy. And I can just put that in my drawer, and we won't even have to talk about it. So make sure that he takes care of it. You take care of it." And he said, "Oh, okay. Well, we're going to have the final hearing is going to be tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. And you be sure and be there." And I said, "Okay." So in the meantime, I was working with the clerk, and I had taken their revision and I had revised it how it needed to be, drawn lines out and added words in. There's a way you redline it, and then you put the other thing in parentheses. And there's a certain way to do laws, and it was in NRS 706. So they came, and he says, "Okay, well, I'll get him to change it, and then we'll present it in the workshop." I said, "Okay," or in the hearing. I said, "Okay, that's fine." So I was sitting there, and they had assured me that they were going to take the changes because they got in no uncertain terms from the senator that he needed to get with me and needed to make me happy, so that I could. And I wasn't trying to make it all good for the tow companies. I understood that it was to protect the people and that kind of stuff. And in the hearing room, there's one main door you come in. Then on the other side, there's a little door that goes out in the hallway. And they were hearing about 3 or 4 laws, and at 8 o'clock, the senator said, "Okay, at 9:25 we're going to get out of here at 9:30, because at 9:25 I'm not taking any more paperwork. I'm not doing anything. We're just going to not take any more votes. We're just going to table the rest of the stuff. So let's move it along." And so I was watching we had a schedule of what bills were going to come up in what order. There was like about 2 bills away from the one we were going to talk about. And this clerk guy came in and said, "Clark, can I talk to you a minute?" And so I said, "Oh, okay." So I went outside, and he was pretending to talk about the bill and make sure that I was on board with stuff. But it really didn't make any sense what he was saying. And I started thinking, why am I out here in the hall, and in there they're going to talk about the bill? No, it couldn't be. It couldn't be that they're getting me out of there so they could do what they want. So I opened the door and I went right back in. And the senator looked up and said, Clark, I was wondering where you were. Randy Jackson's passed out this new revision. Have you seen it? Did you sign off on it? Everything's okay? And I said, I don't know what it is. I have never seen a revision that I'm happy with. And he said, Randy, what are you doing? And Randy said, well, this is all we had time to do. And this is what we have. This is the law. This is the revision we have, and it's just good. It's good enough. And the senator said, well, if the towing companies are not happy, I'm not happy. We're just going to wait for 2 years. We'll do this again in 2 years. And Randy said, wait. And he went to his briefcase and he got out the revised copy that I had given them and had a copy for everyone on the committee, passed it all out and gave one to me, and I looked at it. And the senator said, Clark, what do you think of that one? I said, oh, this looks good. This will work. So they voted on it and passed it right then. And I was still fairly well acquainted with Randy Jackson stuff, but I could not believe that they were that dirty to get me out of the room. He had his clerk get me out of the room so that he could pull one over on me because he knew I was inexperienced in the legislature. That was the first time I'd been to the legislature. Mm-hmm. So, he worked for the state. I just couldn't believe that they would be that way.